Well, I want to add my welcome and happy Easter to all of you. Thank you for being here with us and being Fabric with us today. I'm Greg Meyer. And just kind of let you know what we've been doing for these last bunch of weeks leading up to Easter. We've been talking about your living room. No, we're not been talking about that room when you walk in the front door of your apartment or your house and you have that nice room with all the comfortable furniture and stuff. In fact, the kind of living room we've been talking about isn't necessarily a physical space at all. It's the room to live, right? Living room to live. It's the room that all of us need in order to be who we can be. And we think that's pretty important. And it's actually a really hard thing to find that kind of space for ourselves these days. You know, with the onslaught that we have of all of the expectations, the demands, the attractions, the distractions that pull us off of our, key things about ourselves all the time. All that kind of on steroids because of the 24/7 access that the world has to us because of that thing that they call the internet, right? And all those things, good or bad, is sort of not the point. The point is that they just kind of crowd us out. They fill up our agendas, they fill up our time, they take our attention away from ourselves, they have a way of dominating our relationships and our priorities. And all that just kind of squeezes us out so that there's really no time to ever find that center and figure out who I am in the world and who am I with other people and with whatever it is that's bigger and beyond us. So we kind of really think that living room is really important. And if that living room is really important for us to be who we are supposed to be, that makes me sort of think of Jesus as my living room designer, right? Right? I mean, everybody needs a living room designer. Agreed, that's not a real conventional way of talking about Jesus, but think about it. I mean, doesn't it make a lot of sense? I mean, wasn't the reason that Jesus was among us was to help us find space for ourselves so that we could discover who we are and we could be that person in the world with each other? And so I think that's what it's about. And if that's what Jesus was about, then it seems like Easter must in some ways be about that kind of living room appearing among us and for us. So, my question is, did it? Well, let me just take you through a really quick walk through the Easter story. It all starts a couple of years before Easter as Jesus is wandering around the countryside, and he's inspiring thousands of people with a new way of living. He's touching people's lives in a way that they have never felt before, and he's also being a part of their lives, and he's not only talking about it, but he's actually giving life to them in ways that makes them feel like I matter. And that was pretty revolutionary for him in that day. It's pretty revolutionary for the whole world. And so, as you can imagine, the political and religious leaders of the world weren't really excited about Jesus doing this and creating this enormous movement, so they decided they were going to stop it, and they did. That's what Good Friday was about, right? When Jesus has died. And then what happens after that, on Sunday, which would be this day, after the Sabbath, right? Jesus dies on Friday, and after the Sabbath, a couple of the women who have been following him go to the tomb because they want to finish off the burial rites. And they get there, and the stone that's supposed to close the tomb is rolled away. And so they go looking up, and, he's not there. The tomb is empty. And, of course, they're thinking, who took his body? I mean, that's the natural thing to think about. Who would ever do something like that? But the thing is, it wasn't all about his body missing, right? It was about this hope. It was about this vision for, I have a vision for who I could be in this world. I have this living room given to me, and now it's all gone. It's all done. But there are a couple of variations of how the Easter story is told several times in the Bible, but all of them bring up two basic things. One is, afterwards, all of his followers meet Jesus. They meet a living Jesus. And they all get confronted with the same question. They're always asked, why are you looking for the living among the dead? Now, is that a prophetic question or is that a prophetic question? I mean, that seems to be the question for us today. Why are we so busy looking for life, looking for living room in places where it does not exist? And all that was saying that this thing that they thought they had lost, the thing that they had, that hope that they thought was destroyed, was alive. Well, that was a game changer for people. The fear was gone. Hiding was over. They decided that there was now room to believe. There was a chance for there to actually be some room to live for them. And so the Jesus followers took this message to the streets, and they started a movement that, with all of its ups and downs, and believe me, we all know it's had ups and it has downs, it has changed the world. And I think it still changes the world when we really understand what the message was actually all about. So that would be the question that I have then. And maybe it's your question too. What happened? Well, what happened to all that hope, all that promise 2,000 years ago? Because the world today that I look at doesn't look like that very much. You know? I think the world feels more caustic, it feels more destructive, it feels more endangered, it feels more hopeless than that living room that Jesus was trying to tell us all about. And yeah, I just kind of wondering, where is it all?
Greg, handed to you, you would like it. But a Bite Squad delivery dinner, the Easter story is not. An invitation to be a part of something it was. Well, that's where the hope is, and that's what I'm doing.
Hi, Romper. I didn't know you were listening, but welcome. So, what are you talking about, and why are you dressed like a
Jedi Knight?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, but...
Well, here's the thing. When I first saw those pictures by NASA of the black hole that came up on my newsfeed, I realized that when I get done with school, I'm going to become a Jedi Knight. Fly off in my X-Wing, get some light trapped in one of those black holes, and solve all our problems.
Okay, hold on, just one thing at a time. I got to catch up on this. First of all, on your newsfeed, does this mean, you're an otter, does this mean you have a smartphone?
Of course I do. I'm a 21st century otter, don't you know?
Yeah, all right, right. But don't otters live in rivers?
Yeah.
So how do you keep your cell phone dry?
Duh, Greg, I got an otter box.
Okay, I should have seen that coming, but all right, good enough. But this Jedi Knight, black holes, free light, solve problems, what's that all about, and what does it have to do with Easter?
Oh, Greg, let me break it down for you. Remember when you were a kid and people put a little piece of thread in some whale blubber and lit it to get some light?
Hold on now. Just hold on. How old do you think I am exactly? No, I don't remember it. I can imagine what you're talking about, though.
Well, sorry, I just assumed. But anyway, think about when that happened and how amazing it was for people. Suddenly, there was a way of seeing in the dark. People could do something when the sun went down. Okay, good enough. But where are you going with this? Well, the whale blubber light was amazing, and lots of people loved it. But some people decided to think about a brighter future, right? Get it? Brighter future? Good pun, yeah? Good pun. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't have it figured out. Here you go, people. Yet! Very good, very good. Someone, somewhere, figured out how to put a string in a stick of beeswax, and it was like a revolution. Actually, I think it was like a candle. Well. But yeah, great. Candles were way better. I guess, they had this light stuff all figured out, right? Way better. It's hard to come by whale blubber after all. Yeah, it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Except there was no such thing as sliced bread back then. Well, then it was the greatest thing since whale blubber. Okay, good enough, good enough. So I think I get where you're going with all this. Let me take a shot at the next one, all right? So these candles were great. They were a lot brighter, but, they weren't really all that bright. You couldn't see all that well with the candlelight, and they blow out, they drip wax, and stuff catches on fire. So someone had this bright idea and said, I can see a brighter future. There must be something that isn't figured out. Yet! Yeah. Right. You got it, Greg. Some people were content, but a guy named Thomas Edison started working and invented the light bulb and changed the world. Then everything was fine and everyone was happy, right? No, not exactly. Light bulbs were light years better than candles, truly, but they produce actually a lot more heat than they do light, so that means they use up a lot of electricity, and when there were just a couple of them, it wasn't a big deal, but now that we've had hundreds of millions of light bulbs, it's really becoming a problem producing all that electricity. Exactly. You're catching on. Edison thought he had lighting all figured out, but he didn't. Yet. Do you know who Edward E. Hammer was? Yeah, he was that rapper, right? Yeah, no, this was E.E. Hammer, not M.C. Hammer. During the global energy crisis in the 1970s, this hammer decided to figure out how to make a light bulb that produced more light than heat. He used the fluorescent discovery, which is gases giving off photons when an electrical current passes through them.
Yeah, that's those ice cream cone lights, right? Compact fluorescent CFLs. They were way, way better, used so much less energy, produced more light and not so much heat. I guess they had light all figured out then.
Nah, light wasn't finished yet. Through the work of many different people, LED lights were created using semiconductors. These lights produce so much light with even less energy. And you know what, Greg?
No, what?
Even now, we haven't figured it out. Yet! That's why I'm becoming a Jedi Knight, and I'm going to unleash all the light in those black holes. I'm dreaming about a brighter, cleaner, more sustainable future. LEDs are great, but the possibility of light doesn't stop here.
Romper, you truly are a dreamer, but I don't know. I don't think I'm quite there.
Yet!
Thank you for the reminder, everybody. Yeah, that's right. You know, I like this. I like your idea, but, you know, I don't know. It's bringing us back to Easter. There's got all these hopes and all these promises, but the world just doesn't look like that. And don't say yet, because I know it takes time, but really, 2,000 years.
It's okay, Greg. The power of yet takes practice. And I think Chris and the band have some music for us to ponder just that.
All right.
Dawn is coming, open your eyes. Sing that again. Dawn is coming, open your eyes. Dawn is coming, open your eyes. Look into the sun as a new day's rise.
Yeah. Man, that song gave me all the feels. Dawn is coming, Greg. It's time to open our eyes. Do you see it, Greg? There's so much reason to hold on to hope.
I don't know, Romper. I like this, but I don't know. You know, that's just one example. And you're talking about technology. I mean, technology is half the problem these days. You know, we keep creating things, and each one has as much potential for misuse as it has for help. And I don't know. I just don't think I see it.
Yet, Greg, come on. That's not the only sign of hope in our world. And remember, it's hope, not certainty. Of course we don't see it all right now. That's not the question. The question is whether you see enough to inspire you to be a part of making it happen. Because when you do, you'll start seeing more, and so will other people.
Yeah, you know, first, I just can't believe I'm standing here talking to an otter, but, you know, I like that. I mean, that's really great, but if it's true, if there is so much hope out there, so many possibilities, give us one more example, would you?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask.
Oh, no.
So, I'm pretty much always hungry because I have to eat a third of my body weight every day. One day, I had already eaten breakfast, second breakfast, and 11sies, but I wasn't full yet. Boy, you guys are good. So I decided to go hunting. I went along the shore where my friends were looking for snails when I noticed a group of geese nearby. I was so hungry, I didn't even give them a second thought. So I started swimming around and gobbling up snails when all of a sudden I felt a peck on my head. Greg, have you ever been yelled at by a goose?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember getting chased by some of them when I was running around Lake Nokomis last spring. They can be pretty nasty.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was so embarrassing. I had 6 of them telling me to get out of their snail zone, and my friends were all watching me get schooled by these geese. So I learned my lesson there.
Wow.
Also, those snails weren't not even that good.
Wow, it sounds like a disaster. That hunting expedition sure didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. I'd made the mistake of getting into someone else's territory, but I was too hungry to just go home. So I dove deep into the river, where I saw a feast. The deep, cool water is where the fish were hanging out that day.
Wow, it sounds like you found the answer.
Nope. While I was drooling over all these delicious fish, my friends followed me down and scared all the fish away.
Oh, sorry about that. Guess that didn't work.
Right, I wasn't done yet. I played with my friends in the currents and slid around on the stones with them. It was great. We otters love to do that, you know. But I was still hungry.
Sounds like that wasn't very well thought out. You were wasting the time you needed to find lunch playing. That bad idea.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But guess what? While slipping and sliding on those stones, one of my buddies scared out a great big juicy crayfish. When we chased it, we found another, and, well, there were dozens of them. We all feasted on them until we were full.
Cool story, bro. Glad you didn't give up so easily.
Sure is, but it's more than just that, just not giving up. It's the power of yet, Greg. It's realizing that all the things some people might call mistakes are really steps to what is possible. A possibility that I didn't even know existed.
Yet.
Right. If I hadn't gotten chased by the geese and hadn't been seen sneaking away by my friends and they hadn't scared away all the fish and we hadn't played on those rocks, if I hadn't made all those mistakes, well, I'd never have found those crayfish. And let me tell you, Greg, I've never tasted anything better than them.
Yet. There you go. Taste your own medicine. Okay, so this power of yet, that's kind of interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about this power of yet?
Well, mistakes don't have to be walls that stop us. They can be doors to something to try next, even if where that leads doesn't work
Yet.
See, they get it, Greg. It's that yet that is so important. Sometimes I see you humans worrying about being perfect and giving up when things get hard. Or when you get embarrassed by some geese. Think of a future where mistakes are celebrated. It's already starting. I found out about the power of yet from Heidi, who learned it from educators. Teachers are teaching kids to love and learn from their mistakes instead of shutting down because of them. Just think what the world could be like if every kid who ran into a dead end said, "Well, I didn't figure it out yet," instead of "I failed." It's no different than the hope in the dawn after every dark night. This is nothing new. It just takes us opening our eyes to what has always been true, looking past what isn't working to what might.
Well, Romper, I don't think I'm there yet, but I like where you're going with this. I like this idea. You know, to me, it makes me think about Easter, and that Easter isn't so much about one person dying and magically rising again, but it's about our being in a world where there is always one more possibility and always will be one more possibility. And that gives me hope. It also, helps me realize that, what this is all about isn't just something that happened 2,000 years ago for us, but it's about a world that can be with us. And I think that's a pretty good vision you shared with us today, Romper. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I bet the kids are really going to enjoy being with you and all your ideas in these next weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun, Romper. And actually, for those of you who are going to be in the Commons, adults here, we're going to be exploring some of those same possibilities with something that we're calling Futurescapes these next weeks. And while we may not be talking to puppets, we do believe it's important to dig into these conversations that matter in ways that really work for all ages. So the kids are going to have you, Romper, and your gang, and we're going to be using some of our own creativity in ways that help us think about this in new ways that make new things possible.